Well, that was a little flashback of kind of how the Truggy project started. This video today is going to kind of all be about the Truggy. So it's been a little while since I've really gotten a lot of fabrication work done on this thing. Been doing lots of other stuff with my business here. And it's finally time though. I've gotten caught back up on a bunch of other stuff and going to get back to this thing and see if we can get this finished up. Got a couple things to go over. Yeah, kind of wanted to throw a video in here and just kind of show where this thing started as, where it's at right now, and then yeah, we'll kind of go over a few things that are left on it, and then we'll get into it and see if we can get these things knocked out or not. Starting with paneling, that's probably gonna be the first thing I do. Is I still need to make a rear panel here to this thing has paddles that it runs once it's out running driving in the dunes, and that's just gonna fill with sand right there. So I got one more panel left to do on the back here. Have some not issues, but have some fitment things and trimming to kind of do just to clean up the tin work that I have already. I want to clean up some of the lines, get them a little more lined up with the center lines of tubes. Some mismatched stuff, that's not so bad. The other side's a little, I think this one's a little high, I got to trim it down. So some stuff like that. Got to decide, I'm going to do a panel in the middle, and then from there gauge what it kind of looks like and decide if I'm going to do some paneling over in here or not. So that's kind of what I got to do for paneling. So that's probably what I'll get started on, is do some paneling in the rear. But some other tasks, we'll get into them a little bit more once we get there, is need to hook up the steering. So I do need to drill a hole and put a, I don't know what they call them, a little like bearing, and then some 3/4 inch rod to connect. Let's see, where is it? The steering, that's down in here. So steering needs to get hooked up. I do need to put, I have a brake master cylinders and gas pedal. I need to come up with something in here for those to go back in. So it's got pedals again. Then it will have steering again. And let's see, what other kind of things we got to do. As far as tube, most of the tube work is done. I think there's a couple welds on the harness bar I need to do a second pass on. And then up here, if you kind of look, there's a little bit of fabrication on this engine cage needs done. I've been waiting. I wanted to get these panels in first before I did them, because I'm going to have to notch this panel out to fit. But I'm going to be adding a piece of tube from here to here. If you can see, this is our coilover mount, and it's going up. This is a piece of tube that was sleeved and re-welded. I had to put this in there. And then also all of this stuff, which this ties right down all the way to the frame and then across. Right now, the shock mount, the coilover, which is carrying the weight, is on this little tube, which is a smaller tube shoved into a bigger tube. This is where the firewall used to be. So this is what the last shop came up with to do. And I didn't cut any of this out and redo it. My plan is really to just reinforce it and brace it up and make it stronger. So you got a lot of load transferring when this beam comes up and this shock squishes. All your load is coming up into this upper mount, which this outer tube, it is sleeved. And then also there's a tube from here and then down. Let's see, you can see it in there. So that tube goes down to that corner. But still, this is not sufficient enough to hold the weight of this vehicle. Even though the vehicle is pretty light, I want more in there. So I want to transfer all that energy and that load that this thing takes up this shock through a tube right here and into this junction. This junction, which is braced up into this tube, that way, this way, and down into the frame. And then obviously across to the other side, I'll put in a tube there as well. And yeah, we'll have, well, yeah, that one. From that corner to that corner, and then that corner to that corner. And we'll have a much stronger junction right there for the coilover and for the weight of the vehicle. And then also, I don't have it in right now, but there's a radiator that sits here. There's already a removable tube that helps tie the front of the cage together. But I'm going to add one more. When I took this engine out, there was some cracks in the frame, cracks by the steering box, cracks back by the motor mount. So the front of this is still not as rigid as it needs to be. So I'm going to be looking at tying it a removable tube that goes up and over the intake closer back by the shock mounts back here. So there will be this bar up in here with a radiator mount, and then we'll have another bar that crosses over here. Just really help hold this engine cage together and not have this thing trying to rip itself apart. So that, I think, for right now is the most part of stuff that I can remember. Just little tasks that I kind of got to get done on this thing. So yeah, not too much. It's just been getting put back on the back burner for a little while, and we are finally at a point where it's time to finish up all those little tasks and get this project rolling on out of here. So let's get at it. Just like that. I got one panel all fitted up. I'm kind of just holding it up here right now, but got it all bent up, trimmed. Need to do Zeus tabs on that, but first I'm gonna just go ahead and repeat the whole process, and gotta go do the other side. So gonna use the same template and flip it around and make another one of these, and then we'll be on to the next project. I'm getting pretty close on this Truggy to being done. I've gotten the whole thing disassembled. I've gotten everything fully welded up now, and I even actually started doing some painting. Painted the whole underside there, all the trans tunnel and the floor pans on the underneath, just because they're all raw steel. I want to make sure those are not going to rust right away. And then yeah, I got every panel off right now. I ended with, you see me cutting this hole out here. I still got to do a little bit more sanding and trimming up, and I have a template or a file drawn up, not a template, a DXF ready to burn out on my plasma table that I'm going to be cutting out here in a little bit. But I figured I'd make a little video and stop this one here. I was going to maybe try to finish it all up in one, but I think I'm going to stop and wait, mainly because I'm out of paint. I got to wait for some paint to show up to finish painting some of this stuff before I put the motor back in. And yeah, I don't want to rush it. I want to just paint it while the motor's out and get some of that raw steel stuff covered up. But figured we'll show you where we kind of ended up and what everything looks like completely stripped off. And the next video on this thing will be kind of reassembling and putting everything back together. So got those are the front firewall panels. There's the side panels, and then even the inside aluminum panels. That's what that is going to end up looking like, is what these look like, these aluminum panels here. And mainly that's for the transmission lines that are right here. Those fittings, I made it so the firewall is very, very tight up in there. You're not going to be able to service those at all. So this panel is going to be removable, and you'll be able to get to those fittings, which are about somewhere right up in there. So that's the reason for that paneling being cut out. But everything else, got the rear Zeus tabs welded on, and these panels all done. That's the rear panel, the side panel. The seats are out of it right now currently. And then the other side panels. So yeah, everything besides, I did get the pedal assembly brackets in there. I kind of cut up what was there. Now that Willwood pedal assembly, that all fits in there. So that fits now. And the last things when I go to assemble everything back together will be to hook the steering up, the linkage, and there was one other thing, can't really remember. Oh, okay, I remember. An upper panel up in here. We're gonna probably do some sort of cover. That's gonna be probably one of the very last things. So there is a little tiny bit of work left on this thing, but for the most part, pretty happy with gotten a lot of the stuff done on this thing. As far as the main fab and I don't know, just the tedious stuff that takes a long time, you know, all the Zeus tabs. Like right now, here's all the, actually that's not even all of them, that's 12 short. That's all the Zeus tabs that I've put on this chassis now, or that were on it. There were 6 already here. I had to drill all these out and respring them. I didn't really film anything of that because that's just whatever, it's boring. But to make them all the same size, those were a different length, and I didn't want them to have different length Zeus pins to try to keep track of when you're working on this thing. So wanted all of them to be equal, so I changed the 6 on each side and just put in the different depth spring. If you see that there, so it's a different depth. So now the pin depth that I use will work there. So anyways, that's where we're at with the Truggy, and I figured while we're at it, we'll give you a little sneak peek of where we're at kind of on this project. And while I wait for paint to show up, this is what I'm going to be kind of working on and trying to get this to the next stage. So haven't put anything out of this in a little while. Got both beams, got both spindles welded up. They're mocked up on there. The spindles on here. That one's got the hub on it. This one doesn't have the hub on it yet. I still got to press the bearings into the hub. But I do have, if you can see there, some little radius arm center mount tabs. So just the tube structure of radius arms is where I'm at. I've been working on drawing the plate portions. So that is what I'm going to get started on right now, actually, is getting those drawn up and working on cutting those out so I can start welding up the radius arms. But I'll get down in here even a little further and show you what I'm going to be doing for the radius arm mounts. You can see that's the stock cross member. It's a cross member that goes up to the transmission. And what I'm going to be doing is boxing that thing fully in and plating it and making the radius arm tabs come off of it. So this is just mocked up so I can cycle the thing right now. But I've got a plate burned out that'll get fully welded eventually. I'll take this out, and when I go to fully weld all this stuff up, and then there's some overlays that go on there yet, and some back pieces that'll get all beefed up, and then I can tie tubes into the frame off of the back to help brace these as well, to really take a lot of impact coming from the front, where that guy will be bolted up there. So that's kind of where I'm at on the Chevy build, the swinger. So I'm gonna get working on this thing and actually start working on more of a video based on this next. So just figured I'd show you a little bit kind of where we're at and kind of what's coming. So yeah, if you're watching the channel, thanks for watching. Check me out in the dunes. I get a lot of you guys hitting me up and saying, hey, appreciate it. Peace. We'll catch you next time.